Right, so we're here with Stuart Boardley tonight, the first night of pre-season training tonight.
Yeah, first night, yeah.
How did it go?
Yeah, really well. Yeah, I think the lads are certainly tired, so that's a good sign in the first pre-season session. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's all good. I mean, we haven't caught up in a long time. It's not a lot's happened since March, but yet so much has happened in many ways.
Yeah.
So first to recap on what happened, now things have settled down. What's sort of your reaction now to the end of the season, how it ended and how it was decided? We haven't really spoken much as a club about that.
Yeah, I guess I suppose the overwhelming thing with the players is a little bit of disappointment, really, because we felt like we turned a corner, we were performing well, we were on a bit of a run, and it would have been lovely to kind of ensure survival on kind of our own merit, really, rather than relying on the league null and void or points per game or whatever they decided. So yeah, it was a tinge with disappointment, but at the end of the day we kind of achieved what we wanted to achieve because we're still in the Ryman North, for the coming season. So yeah, it wasn't too bad, but a little bit of disappointment.
Yeah, partly it was such a quick decision as well, wasn't it? It was like just a few weeks after the Canby game, wasn't it?
It was.
Whereas
although
a lot of them have dragged it out.
Yeah, and I think, if I'm honest with you, I think that was the right way to do it.
Right.
I think that clubs needed to know where they were at because players' contracts, all sorts of issues that surround sort of like good level football clubs now. I think it was really important that they made that quick decision because I know a lot of players and managers in the National League that have really suffered because they've had to keep paying players or furlough players because they just didn't know what was happening. They even had to try and keep players fit during that period because they may well have come back, and that would have been a difficult scenario to been in. So I'm relatively pleased that they at least made a decision quite quickly.
Yeah, it's allowed you to plan
Correct,
early because a lot of positive comments about how quick you've done business, but it's actually been going on for months, hasn't it? But
It has,
because
yeah.
you knew where you were, you could do it all early.
Inevitably, my job probably starts Christmas time. In player recruitment, if I'm honest with you, looking at areas of the squad we need to strengthen and what potential players would be out there come the summer to be able to speak to, and I guess the whole lockdown period, if you like, enabled us to just get that business done earlier, and that's what we wanted because we wanted to ensure we got the right players in because we've got a very, very good, solid together group of players that we wanted to add to, but ensure we got the right type of player to mix with the group and keep that togetherness that we've found.
Okay, so in terms of the new season, is it just the fact that you're just planning as if it's going to start when it starts in August normally or July?
I think we were until probably a week ago.
Right.
I think that the general consensus amongst managers out there is the season's going to be a month late.
Okay.
As we sit at the moment, of course that could be prolonged, but we're kind of we're now in the midst of moving all of our pre-season games a month because I feel that they're talking about the EFL. There was rumours of that starting 12th of September, and I think potentially we could be around a similar time. So I think moving pre-season games 4 weeks or a month is kind of where a lot of clubs are sitting at this present time. So.
Okay, and then perhaps slight reorganisation of the cup competitions or something that I've read a lot on Twitter about. They might chop a League Cup here and there.
There's all sorts of permutations. I think they've tried to plan for a September start, an October start and a November start, and the different permutations that would hold in terms of games and fixtures and various things. So I think if we started September, I think given the amount of Tuesdays we would have off in a normal season, I think it's doable to fit a full season in. And I think, to be honest with you, the league needs to look at trying to do that because players might not want to play every week, but at the end of the day, it's revenue for the clubs getting games in and getting games on. So I think it's important the league try to structure something that's as similar to normal as they can do.
Okay, and then obviously you've got what looks like a squad now, 20, 21 players.
We've got 20.
20.
Yeah.
Do you think, before we talk about the new players, do you think you've finished now with business, or?
I think you never say never as a manager,
Okay.
but I'm very, very happy and comfortable with where we are with the squad. Yeah, I think that we've brought in quality over quantity, and I think that we've brought them in the right areas of the football pitch to help us. And with a squad of 20 now, and there's a few younger lads mixed into that 20, I think that I'm really, really pleased, and certainly more pleased than I thought I would be come start of July.
Yeah, I'd say the reaction from people I see out and about and online has been very, very good, and a lot of positivity out there. Regarding the 5 new signings, then just take them all individually. Tell us a little bit about them, maybe, and how you come across them, or you've worked with some of them before, I believe.
Yeah.
So, of course, Callum Robinson in goal first of all.
Yeah, so there was no secret to the fact that we kind of chopped and changed goalkeepers quite a lot last season, probably more than what I'd have liked. With Danny, Jack, and Charlie coming in on loan, and we really needed a settled goalkeeper who's kind of proved themselves at good level, and Callum fitted that bill. I spoke to Danny Potter at Stowmarket about him, who spoke very, very highly. I've played against Callum and seen him a lot as well, and everyone I spoke to about Callum was very complimentary about him as an individual, as well as obviously his goalkeeping attributes. So when we knew he was available, it was kind of a no-brainer to speak with him and get him in. And like with many of the signings, it didn't take a lot to bring them to the football club. It was kind of one conversation really with Callum, and he recognised where we're trying to go as a football club, and wanted to be part of it.
Okay, that sounds good. And then from Brightlingsea, Lamal Howell.
Yeah, Lamal. Yeah, we've been tracking his progress probably all of last season, if I'm honest with you. Whilst he was at Brightlingsea, and he's a lad that's very well known to Andy, my assistant, and he will just bring something different in the top part of the pitch for us that I think we lacked. And I think we lacked a kind of out-and-out winger. The Mel can play on both sides or in the 10, and he'll give us something that I think we were lacking last year, which is probably a little bit of pace, a little bit of trickery, and something a bit different and a bit unexpected in that top third.
Yeah. Okay. Another player, ex-Stowmarket, of course, Leon Otley-Gooch.
Yeah.
Amongst many other clubs. He's got a good name there around the place, isn't he?
Yeah,
already?
Leon. When Leon's fit, he's one of the best players around, bar none. Any manager that's managed him will vouch for his. He's such a nice guy. Probably too nice at times, but what a quality player he is. When I was at Leiston with him, obviously as a player first and foremost, he was being looked at by Colchester and Ipswich Town, and that's how good he is. He's suffered with injuries quite a bit over his career and been very unlucky, but the last 6 months for Leon have been really, really good. He's been consistently fit, not picked up injuries, and we've got a physio working with us who knows Leon very well and will work closely with him to make sure we get him out on that football pitch more often than not.
Okay. Another one that raised quite a stir online was Curtis Haynes-Brown.
Yeah.
Ex-league player like yourself.
Yeah.
Now he comes highly rated, doesn't he, by many clubs.
He does. Curtis is a very, very good player at this level. Arguably, probably should have. He'll shoot me for saying this, but probably should have done a bit more in his career. He's quick, athletic, strong. He's experienced now, and he's a real character, which is what we needed in our dressing room. I think we probably my one criticism of our group last year, we're a bit quiet. We've got a few loud ones like Dens and a few others, but I don't think we had enough characters last year, and bringing Curtis into the dressing room will certainly help that out. He's a lad that I've tried to sign on 2 previous occasions in the past and failed. So obviously when we got in this time, I was delighted, and again another one that saw the bigger picture of what we're trying to do here and was excited by the club and where it's come from and where it's going to, and bought in relatively early on as to what we were trying to do.
Yeah, okay. And then the 5th one we announced, of course, was Noel Aikins from Leiston.
Yeah.
Quite a surprise, I thought, to get him, because dropping down a level like he's done, he's another quality player, isn't he?
Yeah, Noel is without doubt, in my opinion, probably the best midfield player in and around this area, bar none. he's got every attribute you'd look for. He's quick, he's strong, he can edit, he can tackle, he's athletic, and he can play. We worked together at Leiston and got on very, very well. And you know, when I knew, obviously I knew his contractual situation at Leiston, and felt that, you know, I think if I showed him around the club and told him where we were going, that I'd have a chance. There was a lot of other clubs in for him, a lot of other clubs that offered him a lot more money as well, but he chose us. You'll have to ask him why, but I guess he bought into what we were trying to do, and turned down advances from higher levels, lower levels, more money to come here, which shows what a progressive club we are.
Yeah, that's all good. So in terms of budget, you're running at a lower budget, I believe, than last season.
Yeah, slightly lower. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I guess when I came to the club, I felt we had too many paid players at the football club, and it was a little bit quantity over quality, perhaps. And as our sort of time at the helm has gone on, we've tried to thin that out a little bit and try and bring more quality. And I think you can see that with the signings we've got, that we've brought in better quality players, and that should help us progress up the league.
Okay. Just one thing about the retained players. We announced this evening that Josh Kerridge, new captain for the club, again seems a popular decision online. What was your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think, you know, looking at last year, Denzel was brilliant. He was the leader we needed in there. He was a character, and probably, as I've mentioned, one of the only characters. But I just felt with the new players, and it needed a change. And I think Josh, we're looking to the future. Clearly, Denz is now 37. He's still got a lot more playing time in him, but I felt that if we're looking to the next 3, 4 and 5 years, Josh Kerridge could be that captain for us for the next 3 or 4 years without any shadow of a doubt. And he's that player that's going to be in the side every week. He's a leader, perhaps not as loud as Denz, but he's a leader in what he does, and I think that's really, really important. And I think he'll become a really, really good captain for this football club.
Okay. And finally, not to hold you to this in future, but predictions for the season? Are you quietly confident? Loudly confident?
I've always been told to under-promise and over-deliver. So I think it's important we temper expectations. I think that, you know, clearly we were right down there last year, and my kind of remit from the club is to settle us at this level, make us a good competitive side that are playing good football out there on the pitch, that brings people through the turnstiles, and that's what we'll aim to do. And I think we'll do that with the players we've got. I'm not gonna put targets on it, but I don't see that there's going to be, Malden are clearly standouts. They were last year, and then there was probably a group of 4 or 5 that were a lot better than the rest.
Yeah.
Your Berries, Averley and those types of clubs. But I think there's that middle section and pushing playoffs that I think we can now compete with, your Coggeshawls and those types of teams.
Cambridge and that type of time.
Yeah, and I think that there's nothing to stop us. You know, if we can keep players injury free and have a bit of a run, that we couldn't, you know, be really competitive in that sort of middle echelon of the league.
Yeah. I think people are obviously agreeing, because season ticket sales are very good so far for this stage of the season. They're unbelievable. So we've just extended the early bird offer on that, if anyone's listening, to the end of July. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement out there. I know I said final thing, but one more final thing, looking around here, the pitch looking like immaculate more than, it looks more like with some of the teams we played at, Malden, the snooker tables as well. How have you managed that?
Well, I certainly haven't managed it. It's just been a collective effort from the club. We spoke to the club at the end of the last season, and I felt that to attract the type of player I wanted to bring here and the type of football we want to play, we needed a surface that we were able to do that on. And I think everyone at the club recognised that that needed to change, and we got Parker's pictures in relatively early on. Fortunately, during the lockdown period, to do some initial works on it, and then it's really just been a collective effort from a lot of willing helpers and supporters to move sprinklers about and keep sprinklers running pretty much now for about, I don't know, Stuart, how long? 8 weeks?
Must be 18 hours a day.
Pushing that
8
from
weeks.
sort of 6 in the morning to 12 at night, and that shows how much people behind the scenes here really want good football and a good surface for us to play on. So the players have seen it tonight and are really thankful for all the help that those behind the scenes have put in, which has been fantastic. So.
Okay, well, it's say even more reason to look forward to the season, because rare we've seen a pitch like that, if at all ever, here. So thank you for your time tonight. Good luck for the season when it starts, and thanks a lot.
Brilliant, thanks.